All right, moving on to Heat-Sixers. I caught this game in its entirety yesterday. I was having kind of a lazy Sunday and just was hanging out on the couch. And instead of watching football, I was watching basketball. Typically, it's funny because typically I do most of my rewatches in the morning on Synergy, but I ended up catching this one live. It was a very fascinating game. And you could literally tell from the opening tip that Miami was in complete control of the shot quality dynamic. They were just getting better shots throughout the game. And so it kind of felt throughout that they were most likely going to win comfortably. Like even when Philly would make their runs and get back into it, Miami would immediately respond and get the lead back up to 5-7. And you could kind of see that dynamic building in the first quarter. Philly had a couple like nice runs of jump shooting, crazy one in the second quarter. I think they had a 16-0 run at one point in the second quarter, but outside of those runs, Miami basically controlled the game from start to finish. And I thought it taught us a lot about both teams because on the one hand with Philly, one of the things that stood out in a big way is, their dribble penetration attack is very based on speed right now and not a lot on power. So when they run into other teams that have quickness that can kind of keep them in front and keep them out of the paint, their offense can struggle a little bit. I think that's where having a guy like Embiid as a counter is something that's important to look at for future potential for Philly. When they run into fast guards that can make life more difficult for their fast guards, they got to have somebody that can kind of get that second defender and get the defense in rotation. And ultimately, a guy like Embiid could provide that power dynamic. And then on the other end of the floor for Philly, just especially in that second half, they're just so small. And Miami has these power players, particularly Jaime Jaquez, where it was like at any given moment, you would look on the floor and you'd be like, there's three dudes out there who have no shot to guard Jaime Jaquez. And that to me is a severe defensive limitation of that Philly team, just in terms of their personnel. That's going to be really difficult for them to overcome. But let's get back to Miami. I want to set Miami's offense to the side for a minute because we've talked about it quite a bit as of late. And it was every bit as impressive yesterday. Norman Powell was amazing in the first half. I thought Jaime Jaquez really controlled the second half. We'll get to that in a little bit. I want to focus on Miami's defense for a minute. For all that we talk with Miami's pace in attack on offense, right? Like kick aheads, early drives, getting good dribble penetration, playing off of it. Their defense is very, very good at stopping those same types of attacks on the other end. This is a fast Philly roster. Even without VJ Edgecombe, who sat out yesterday, Philly has so much quickness on the perimeter and they get out in transition a lot. And Miami just shut all of that shit off. They run the floor in transition so well, even their bigs. It was really fun to watch Kelly Ware and Bam Adebayo just run up and down yesterday, just keeping up with the pace of that game. I think they probably keep up with the pace of games in transition better than any set of bigs in the league right now. They held Philly to just 22 transition points. That tied a season low for Philly, who's been getting out in transition quite a bit. And then in the half court, steady diet of just chasing them off the three-point line. Really good point of attack defense. I thought both Davion Mitchell and Drew Smith in particular did a phenomenal job on ball all game. And again, Philly's still going to get a lot of threes up just because they have some guys like Tyrese Maxey and Quentin Grimes who will take some super tough threes off of contests. Maxey will shoot a step back 30-footer 3 or 4 times a game. So that's going to get 3-point volume up regardless of what defense you're playing. Quentin Grimes will just kind of elevate off the catch even when he's guarded. So they ended up getting 21 threes up just between the two of those guys, but they only made 7 of them. They were well defended. And then I thought Kelly Ware and Bam were both awesome at the rim all game when they would chase Philly off the line. So they would just end up running into rim protection. Philly missed a lot of layups in this game. Quentin Grimes would kind of slither into the lane and the Heat players would be there without fouling, walling up. And so it'd be this really difficult layup that would roll off of the rim. And Maxey, really difficult layup, would roll off the rim. Andre Drummond had a bunch of offensive rebounds that he tried to put back and he just couldn't finish them because Bam and Kellel were there all game bothering shots around the rim. Philly ended up shooting just 53% at the rim in this game, which was their second lowest rim efficiency number of the entire season, according to Synergy. Miami is 4th in defensive rating to start this season. Number 1 in half-court defense. According to Cleaning the Glass, they're allowing just 87.6 points per 100 half-court possessions. I was just really impressed with them yesterday on the defensive end of the floor. And they were equally impressive on offense yesterday. Norman Powell really controlled things in the first half. He's just the perfect guy to give a green light to in this system. because he's your textbook, like, simple shooting read maker, right? Like, he gets a clean look, he's taking it every single time. And he gets so many, like, trailing the play in transition. Like, they'll run the ball up the floor and, like, pitch it back to Bam, and then here comes Norman just, like, sweeping across, like, at an angle, and he'll just rise up off the catch and take, like, a 27-footer and knock it down, you know? Or in those driving kick chaos situations, there's every time he gets the slightest bit of separation, he's rising up, and he was hitting so many of them early in the game that he started to draw fouls as Philly was closing out too aggressively. I think he ended up drawing three-shot fouls in yesterday's game. And then from there, it's just very simple, reads, right? Like, if he gets chased off his left shoulder, he's ripping right. If he rips right and there's a rim protector there, he'll just stop and pop from 15. If no one's there, he'll slash. If he ends up getting late help, he'll kick it out. It's all just, like, very basic read making off of the power of his shooting. And, like, he just dominated the early stretch of that game. And then in the second half, like we talked about earlier with Philly's defense, it just became abundantly clear that Philly just couldn't guard Jaime. They had too many guys on the floor that were easy targets for him. And he just played really simple one-on-one basketball out of cleared side post-ups and ISOs. And, like, Jaime's got a very unique gift for, like, understanding the physical leverage battle that happens in the post. Like, he's really good at, like, feeling which one of his shoulders you're leaning on, and then from there, kind of, like, using little pivots and little bumps to kind of get additional separation off of you. He had this nasty spin move off of the right wing where he, like, set it up with a hard dribble to the left and just pounded into a full spin and just completely dusted his man off the dribble for an easy layup. And so he's become, like, the very simple post-up mismatch problem for opponents, because it's like, if you leave him one-on-one, he's really good at either getting to some sort of short hook or a little easy right shoulder fade, or God forbid he just completely toasts you off the dribble and gets all the way into the lane for a layup. And then as soon as you bring that second defender over, he's really good at the easy kick out reads, the lob to Kel'el Ware when the big man steps up. He just makes simple decisions based on how the defense reacts to him there in the middle of the floor. And I also want to shout out Bam and Kel'el. I thought their short range spacing was key in this game. Like, Bam was killing Philly with these, like, little, like, 7-8 foot jump shots where they'd get right up to the front of the rim and everyone on Philly would react and they would just drop it off to Bam. They're, like, 7 feet from the basket, easy jump shot, knock it down. Kel'el Ware hit a couple of threes. He was also providing that vertical spacing window. But Jaime can go through these runs where he straight up dominates the offense for, like, a 5-6 minute stretch and gets great shots every single time. It was just a wire to wire dominant performance from the Heat on the road against a good team. They've now won 4 in a row. They're up to 11-6. They have sole possession of the 4 seed out east, just 1 game back of the 2 seed. A couple other final shout outs for Miami. Kel'el Ware's been getting a lot of direct coaching behind the scenes about directing his talent towards the margins rather than scoring. A lot of, like, hey, dude, like, focus on the things that you're great at right now that help the team win, and the scoring will just kind of come naturally with that, right? So, like, sprint up and down the floor in transition, clean up the defensive glass, make those help side rotations at the rim, attack the offensive glass. He was a monster on the offensive glass yesterday. He had 8 offensive rebounds. And as a result, like, he's been taking that to heart, and it's been awesome. Another 20 points and 16 rebounds yesterday. In the last 7 games, Kel'el's averaging 15 and 15 on 57% from the field and 46% from 3. Just outrageous stuff from the young fella. And again, early in the season, it was like a lot of attempts to try to get some of that to work, the Kel'el Ware units when Bam's off the floor, some of the 2 big stuff. And it wasn't pretty to start the year, but they're starting to gain some real momentum in both their 2 big looks and their Kel'el Ware on the floor without Bam looks over the course of the last couple of weeks. And then lastly, Davion Mitchell. You know, it's interesting because he was such a one-dimensional type of player before coming to Miami, very much just a primary point of attack guy who was pretty mediocre at everything else. But refining one of his weaknesses, particularly his spot-up three-point shooting, and then Spoelstra just weaponizing a couple of his kind of like under-discovered strengths has turned him into a really high-level starter in this league. He's always been fast. He's always been a good point of attack defender, but in Miami, he's become a reliable catch-and-shoot guy. For instance, if you leave him open this year, unguarded threes, 45%. Last year with Miami, 54%. So he's been consistently knocking down the catch-and-shoot threes in a Heat jersey. And then Spoelstra's found his offensive talent, which is like he can beat dudes off the dribble and make simple kick-out reads. He's averaging 9.1 assists per 36 minutes this year. His previous career high was 6.4. And it's just a very simple dynamic. He's sneaky, one of the best rim finishers in the league, and he can get to the foul line by getting into your body. So that causes teams to kind of react to his drives, and then he just makes those simple reads. That's very much the meat and potatoes of Miami's offense. Generate dribble penetration through defense to transition and high-level driving kick attack from Jaime Jaquez and from Davion Mitchell, while having the kind of counterbalance of the over-top shooting from Norman Powell. And it's just working. It's just working at a really, really high level. And now Tyler Herro is coming back. So going to be really interesting to see how he kind of fits with the dynamic with Norman Powell, if their rhythm competes with each other, or if it turns into just 48 minutes of that high level aggressive jump shooting that actually ends up helping them. Very different system than last Tyler Herro played. So I'll be really curious. If I wonder if they'll more or less use him the same way they've been playing, or if they kind of use him as a counterbalance to their attack by running more pick and roll with him and Bam. That'll be something that'll be interesting to see with his return.